somebody that fought every day, somebody that like, I was very stubborn growing up.
Sure.
And if you grow up that way and get to 18, 19, that's how you're gonna be. You're gonna be hot tempered. Any little stuff,
Yeah.
you fight,
Sure.
and it's not gonna look good.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, I have worked in many places in this country. I've worked in the library and all that stuff, and it's sad seeing kids not being kids, seeing kids not having respect for their mom,
Yeah.
for their dad. If a kid doesn't have respect for the dad or the mom, who they gonna have respect for?
Right.
If a kid's call the dad the N word, call the mom a B word, who would they have respect for?
Nobody.
And the society is not happy. But you can't blame the parents because the society is allowing that to happen.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
I see people's car getting stolen and all that stuff. And they're like these teens, the parents and that. You can't blame the kids. It's a societal problem.
Yeah.
We all allow that to happen. Where if you see a parent discipline the child, oh, you disciplining the child too much, they call the police on you. They say you doing this and that and that and that and that.
Yeah.
And then the police will take away the child from the parent. And the parents don't want that.
No.
So they don't want to do something to lose their child. So they will not discipline the child and keep talking. And the child will grow up and go and rob the neighbor's or whoever's car. And the person's mad. Why are you mad?
Yeah.
You don't want discipline, so accept the consequence of the child disrespecting you,
Yeah.
beating you up. You see a kid fighting a 90-year-old lady. You go into a bus. Kids don't get up for a woman, for the older lady to sit down.
Sit down. Yeah.
They will sit. Kids don't have respect for the senior citizens. Kids go rob, fight people that are older than them. They don't have no boundary.
Yeah.
You can't blame the parents. We all brought
Yeah.
this on us because we as a society say no to discipline. We have to face the consequences of no to discipline. The police people are tired because you can't do much with the kids when they do stuff like that. And who can you blame? The society. Because if you cannot discipline kids, be ready for those kids to come to your house and rob you or do stuff to you, and you can't do nothing.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I look at what's happening here, and I look at what's happening in Africa, and I'm like, I hope we don't get to that level, because it's gonna be chaos.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be kids without value, kids without mission,
Yeah.
kids without nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And their anger goes back to their parents.
Yeah.
Because whatever I miss today, I blame my parents. I don't know how to speak my language, I blame my parents. I don't know how to cook, I blame my parents.
Yeah.
Why don't you know how to cook? My mom never taught me. Right? That's what people say, right? My dad never taught me. Why don't you know how to read? My dad never taught me.
Yeah.
My mom never taught me.
Yeah.
So everything that we are having, we blame it on our parents. Because we feel like they should have taught us all those things.
Yeah, our parents are our first teachers.
Yeah.
You know?
But the parents are overwhelmed because they're scared to lose their kid.
Yeah.
Because if you can prove me wrong, right? If you discipline your child and the child says in school, my mom disciplined me, right? They can take your child, give it to somebody else.
Yeah, they could.
And that person they're giving it to might not value your child, they just value the money
that they're getting.
and the study and mishandle your child. And then your child is going through trauma. By the time you go to court and you get your child back, you got a child that's stubborn and with trauma. Because they might rape the child, they might, mishandle the child, and then it's chaos.
Yeah.
So the system is not working. And I don't know how long people can absorb it, because we have system of single homes where the two combination of disciplinary and nurturing is missing.
Yeah.
Because it takes two. It takes discipline and nurturing to raise a child right.
Right.
And if you're missing one, there's imbalance.
Sure.
So we're already struggling with that. And then we're struggling with fear of losing our child for the government to take it or somebody to take it.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that fear, that child doesn't grow up right, where you end up raising a child, the child joins a bad gang, smokes weed and all that stuff, takes people's stuff, and you always go to court. And all you do is every month you go to court for your child. You know what I mean? And is it working for us?
Yeah.
No.
No.
It's not. So we as a society have to review that side, because the best thing of a society is producing the next generation of betterness. I hear people, workers say the generation of X or D, whatever they call it, they don't want to work. They come to work late. They come to work and they're like, you talk and they're like, I quit.
Yeah, they quit.
They don't care.
That is so true. They
don't want to work. They don't come to work late. They don't care. Because most of them on the TikTok, music, you know, they don't care.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like a lot of these young people, like you can't talk to them. You know, like they are not used to or can't handle constructive feedback. So their reaction to being like verbally, you know, getting verbal discipline is, I'm gonna quit. Like I'm just not gonna do it. Instead of them trying to take ownership, accountability for their actions and make the necessary adjustments to be better, they're like, nah, I'll just quit and just get another one. So like, yeah, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine that mindset, to be honest. Like, you know, our generation growing up, like I think we kind of model after our parents as far as like when it comes to like working and stuff. Like you're being loyal to your employer, even on days when you don't like the job. Like you still go and you do what you're supposed to do. You take orders from your boss. You don't really give them any like pushback or anything like that. And like you just kind of suffer through it because you know, bigger picture, like I got a family I gotta support, I got things I gotta take care of, I have a kid that's in college, you know. So like me up and quitting a job because I didn't like how my manager spoke to me, you know, it just didn't make sense because you had so much more to lose, you know, versus like this generation of people, like I said, you can't talk to them. You know, you can't give anybody any type of constructive feedback because immediately we get really super sensitive and in our feelings, and then, you know, you quit the job. So like, and then a lot of these kids now, they have this idea about like a career path, and a lot of them look into like content creation as a career path because they see all these other people online who've been able to make a name for themselves and made their business lucrative, you know, by, you know, whatever they did to get to that point. And like, that's not going to be the case for everybody. You know what I'm saying? That's not going to be, like, we still do need doctors. We still do need lawyers. We still do need, like, people in the trades and people in hospitality and people in education. Like, we still need those people. Those are still important. But, like, a lot now, you're just seeing people or younger people are pursuing these type of, I call it transient type of careers because it's like you're here today, gone tomorrow. You know, kind of thing.
It's really sad because I look at life, this generation, money has no value. Meaning it used to be you create a product because the society needs it. And you create it with intention, you create it and then the money comes in, right? Okay. But now we are about the money. So we don't care if it helps the society or if it doesn't have it, as far as we're making money. Sure, yeah. And that's the world we live in, where money has no value. Because before it used to be you have principle. You know, as a man, there's something you tell me to accept because of money. I said, no, keep your money. This is what I believe in, this is where I stand, and that's it. But generation now has no value. Yeah. As far as the money is there, they can do whatever. They can accept whatever. They can program whatever. So it's sad. Yeah. And we have these kids grown up in that situation where they don't care. they don't want to be productive. And where's the future looking like?
Yeah.
It's not going to be a good future.
It doesn't.
Because imagine go to the hospital and there's no doctor, and everybody's doing content creation.
Oh my gosh.
Imagine looking for a lawyer, there's no lawyer.
No lawyer.
You go to a bank, there's no accountant or manager.
Yeah.
Or a priest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a chaotic world. Because we need all these things to make world productive.
Yeah.
And it's sad and it's getting worse. And the reason why it's like that is because there's no constructive disciplinarity and constructive role of a family at home.
Okay.
Because these kids don't listen to nobody.
Yeah.
If they don't listen to home, how are they gonna listen to their employer?
Yeah.
That's never gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know, and they don't have that understanding of hard work. You know, and they don't have that understanding of mentor. They don't have a mentor.
Mentor.
You know, it used to be when we go, we have a mentor. Like that, your dad can be your mentor. Your mom, you look up to them. It makes you work hard.
Yeah.
To be successful.
Yeah.
But there's none of that. You know, so we gotta ask ourselves in the Western world: are we in the right track, or should we revive the track? Now, when you come to Africa, we don't have that. People want to work. People want to make a living. People want to, make their parents proud. People want to, strive. But there's less opportunity of work compared to here. Because I always say this is funny. God bless Africa with resources that can make us the richest country in the world. But He didn't give us the brain.
Oh, jeez.
To construct the resources to be productive and live better.
Okay.
Now He gave the other people the brain to reconstruct
but not the resources.
But not the resources. And the other people, instead of them coming and impacting the resource and the brain for all of us to live together, they're like, we're gonna take it and make us live together, and the resources, screw ya.
Yeah.
And we're struggling with that, trying to understand how we have all these resources and we're struggling. And we're supposed to be the richest people in the world or country in the world.
Yeah.
And we're the poorest.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So, and all we want is to provide for our family and all that stuff, right? So, and nowadays you have a lot of Africans waking up to that, asking questions and fighting, right?
Okay.
So, when you come to the West, there's jobs, there's opportunity, you have steady electricity, good roads, right?
Yeah.
The people there, some of them don't value it, you know what I mean? While some value it. Or you come to Africa, people are struggling to get a job to be able to provide for themselves, right? And it's not easy. So it's like a person being born of riches and don't care about the riches, and a person being poor and want to be rich, it's like that. So I look at Africa and I look at America, and sometimes I feel like crying for these kids in the Western world, because like I talk to them, but the damage is deep. You know what I mean?
You don't think it's repairable?
It can be repairable, but it has to conceive a lot of work and a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Because the parents already in chaotic, single home and all that stuff, and impacts on the kid. So you gotta start from the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
You can't start from the bottom to the top.
Yeah. I think you just said something that was really impactful, because of like the dynamic now in a lot of households where you're seeing that children are being raised by one parent. And also when you kind of see in situations where there's multiple children in the home with one parent, there's only so much that one parent can do. Right? Because they're having to wear multiple hats. They're having to be the provider and the protector, the nurturer and the person that takes care of the home and raises the kids and helps with homework and disciplinarian and just all of those different hats. And I can imagine for some parents that are having to do all of those things on their own, I'm probably sure a lot of them are kind of doing like a process of elimination when it comes to like, different things as far as how they raise their kids, and like, what battles am I willing to like let go of? Like, what things am I don't have the strength to deal with it because it's so much, because I'm dealing with it by myself. And as a result, unfortunately, sometimes for some of the kids, they're affected in that way of being brought up, but they're just a product of their environment. But then also you may have some instances, that there's some kids that still come out pretty good out of those situations, and they realize that, mom and or dad are doing the best that they can to raise them in the way that they know how. And they're wanting to like make things easy for mom and dad, so like I'm not going to give them a lot of issues. Like I'm going to stay on the straight and narrow, I'm going to go to school, do my homework, I'm going to be good, I'm not going to get in trouble, because they see mom and or dad's I don't want to say struggle, but like they're grinding, they're trying to get things going for their family. And so unfortunately, a lot of times these kids are just products of their environment and what they're brought up in. And that's why, going back to what you said at the beginning, that village is important. So like as a single parent raising children by yourself, realizing, I hope that you can't do all things by yourself. Hopefully people have individuals in their lives that they can trust with their children to kind of step in those gaps. So like if they have brothers, and like say unfortunately if the father of the children is not in the picture, then like the brothers can kind of step in to provide that male support that she may need for the kids, or like you said, like a mentor for the boys, especially because as women we can't teach little boys how to be men. So there needs to be a man that you trust, a man who's an upstanding person, someone who again is someone you trust, that can help you raise your sons to be the men that they need to be in today's society. But I'm hopeful that we can maybe get back to some of what it used to be back in our time when we grew up as kids. And I still think that does still occur right now, but it's definitely not the norm. You definitely see situations where it appears that the parents don't have control over their kids, and the kids are just kind of doing it whatever they want to do, saying whatever they want to say, and it just seems like it's anarchy. And there's no responsibility, there's no accountability from these kids. They're just really transient, and they're just really like flighty, and it makes me a little concerned for like what the future generations are going to have to deal with. But I think if there's a lot of people that are still out here that believe in having the discipline with the support to really help grow their kids and make them productive citizens, I feel like we can hopefully change the trajectory of how things are going. But technology is kind of taken over. Technology is taken over, and for a lot of us, we can't compete with that. We can't compete with technology. Technology is just everywhere. All over the world, in the U.S., the Caribbean, Africa, all the continents, even the most like rural places, or you think like third world, they are having access to technology. And that's really impacting, those communities. So I don't know. I don't know if we can 100% get back to like where we were, but I think that there's still enough people in the world that still value that type of upbringing.
Like for technology part, I disagree with the technology.
Okay.
Because technology has changed, but human beings still are the same. Meaning we still do the same thing we do.
Okay.
So for us to better ourselves, we gotta understand that the new way we're doing doesn't work. And we gotta go back to the old ways.
Okay.
And I see that happen a lot. For example, like there's some countries, right, where they don't speak their language, they speak another person's language, right? And they realize it's not working. You gotta go back to the old ways.
Okay.
And they went back to their language. You know what I mean? Just like the way you see the world now, the fight, Africa and everything. People are fighting to go back to their normal ways.
Okay.
Because they find out the new ways ain't working for them.
It's not working for them.
Yeah. So when you realize that in single home, I respect all the single family, but single home is not working for a productive family. Not all of it. You have some kids that come up right in single home.
Sure.
But the majority don't.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And we find out that single home is not working for the interest of our kids because the kids need the dad and the mom. You know what I mean? And if you guys are incorporating the life into the kids, you have a more percentage of the kids growing right. And it comes back to the situation that we have in the society. One, we have an epidemic of single parenting, right? Two, we have an epidemic of being afraid to discipline our child or raise our child in the right way that we was raised by our fathers or mothers, right? So we have these two fears epidemic. And these two things decide on how a child is going to be productive in society and how a child is not going to be productive in society. You know what I mean? So we got to come together and realize that this new way is not working. Because the old way we used to discipline our child and the child grew up right. Not all. You can never get 100% in anything.
Right.
You know, but the majority grew up right. And then when you took away the discipline and you start talking more, start like talking yourself to death, and then you find out it's not working.
It's not working.
What can you do? You're gonna love your kids anyway.
Of course.
Whether your kids are a killer, whether your kids are whatever, you're gonna love your kid. Your kid is a kid, no matter what. You know what I mean? So it's like Biden, for example, right? His son in court. People like, oh, you're gonna look after your son? I'm like, why do you ask him? He's always gonna be look after his son. That's his son. Why do people ask questions like that? You know what I mean? Like nobody abandons their child, no matter what. It's your child. You know what I mean? So we as society, we have to understand that we created that problem. Because we don't look into. God gave us a role in life, and once we differentiate from that role, we're going into chaos. Just like a mother has a role, a father has a role, a wife has a role for her husband, a husband has a role for the wife, right? Your neighbors has a role, right? They can't come to your house without letting you know they're gonna come, right?
Oh, got that right.
So everybody in life has a role. Your workplace, you have your role. You can't oversee them, become your supervisor.
Right.
You know what I mean? When you're starting. Everybody has a role. God gave us a role, and that role is what keeps us productive in the society. Right? Just like when you see a doctor, there's a pediatrician, there's a gynecologist, there's a dentist. They're all doctors.
They're all doctors.
But they have their own role.
Specialties.
If a dentist leave dentist and become a pediatrician, that's chaos. If a pediatrician leaves and become a gynecologist, it's chaos.
Correct.
Right? Everybody has their specialty. That's how life is created. Once we leave that role, right, we're destroying. Imagine you going to see a gynecologist and that's a dentist, and they leave the gynecologist work and go to your teeth.
I'm good.
Is that going to be good?
No.
So life is a role, right? And once we abandon that role, we destroy humanity. So my advice personally is we have to go back in cultural ways, values, you know, and try to come together as father and mother to raise the kid right. Even if you're not gonna live with the dad or you're not gonna live with mom, try to have more time for the kids. Try to see where the kid is lacking and put the work in it.
Yeah.
To be productive for the kids, right? Like for example, you can be a single mom and single dad, right? If you find out the kid needs disciplinarity, take the kid to the dad, talk with the kid, discipline the kid, and give him the verbal redirection right there and there with the dad. The kid is gonna end up going right most times.
Yeah.
Compared to the kid needs disciplinarity, but you don't like the dad, so you don't care. And then the kids end up stealing somebody's car, and you calling the dad, Junior stole somebody's car, he's in jail, what are we gonna do? When Junior was developing that beer, why didn't you call me? Why didn't you, brought it up? You didn't brought it up. Now he did something, and now you wanna call me as the father to come to the court or to jail or whatever to work. It's late. You know what I mean? So we gotta understand that once you have a kid, it's no more about you, it's about the kid. Once you marry a woman and a woman marries a man, it's no more about you two, it's about the kid. Because you have lived your life as the woman, the man has lived his life as the man, now it's about the kid. To give the kid the best upbringing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sacrifice
to make the kid better so that the kid can grow, live their life, and have his or her own kids.
Yeah.
So that's how life role is, and we're living the roles. And once you live the role of life that was given to us by God, we're destroying the world.
Yeah.
Well, look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely very different than when we came up
and one thing I want to say to Africans, man, if you're watching the Western world to be like them, look at the good ones and follow. Not look at the bad ones and follow. Because they try to solve the bad ones to get to the good, and we're following them. It's like somebody jumping off a bridge, and they're trying to figure out how we're going to stop jumping off the bridge, and we follow them, we keep jumping. And they're trying to figure out how to stop, and we're jumping. Because we saw them jumping, but we don't know to stop.
Yeah.
So Africans, we got to wake up and start realizing that we have to protect. It takes a village to raise a child, for our child to be productive. That's one. We have to protect family. We have to protect value of a woman and a man in a society. These are key extents that makes a society productive. And once you lose that, you lose a society of chaos.
Yeah.
And once that happens, all we can do is complain. But it is what it is. It's chaos.
Yeah.
So the Western world has good and it has bad. Let's imitate the good and not imitate the bad. But what we're doing, we're imitating the bad and leaving the good. It don't make no sense.
Flip it around, you guys.
It don't make no sense.
Yeah.
So
well, that's some really good advice for the viewers. So really good conversation. So raising children is difficult, period. No matter what society you live in, you want to provide the best life for your children. You want to hope that they're able to achieve and attain any goals that they set for themselves, and you want to make sure as a parent you put them in the best position to achieve those goals. So hats off to all the parents out there that are sacrificing day in, day out for their children, and not being afraid to tell their children no, and to discipline them, and to show them right from wrong. Because it's important. Kids need to learn that they're not always going to get their way. And they need to learn how to deal with adversity. So if you're always saying yes, and they're not used to hearing no, they won't know how to handle it, right? So it's important that we're able to create that balance for our children in our homes. We're the ones that are in charge in our home. And I get, there may be things in place that may try to prevent parents from taking action with their kids for the fear of the government getting involved. But you need to do what works best for your home and for your children, because your children are a representation of who you are in this world. And again, you want to make sure that they have every opportunity afforded to them to be as successful as they need to be. So, yeah, really good conversation tonight. So, did you have any parting words for our viewers before we sign off for this episode?
I have one word in my country and my language, and it says that Izowa takiri ofuma omewa ofuma. Again, Izowa takiri ofuma omewa ofuma. Meaning, if you raise a child right, the child is gonna grow up right. If you raise a child right, the child is gonna grow up right.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
So
Well, thank you for the conversation tonight. This was pretty
it's a
good.
lovely night, and I love everybody, and we appreciate everybody.
Yes.
And you know, from your humble boy, I love you, and I want to take off my hat.
He threw his hat. All right, you guys, it's Queen Teah. Y'all have a good night.
The boy, aka Dollar Man, Obadola, it's a special one.
Hey.
One love.
Peace.
Bye.